welcome to Flory Models. I'm Philip Flory, and for today's on test, we're back to metallizer paints. We're going to be having a look at the new, this is AK's Xtreme Metal series of paints, which I've just recently got in. Now, as we all know, metallizer paints, they're a real pain, because you're either going to have the problem of smell, like Alclad, to be honest, or you got the thing of like perhaps pigment release, i.e. where it just keeps coming off and rubbing off. So some of the ones like the Guns range of the Mr. Metal colours, they tend to be a little bit, you know, comes off on your fingers, things like that. Or you get your standard sort of, you know, metallizers that go on and do it, okay, which is very much what I like to use is the Model Master range. I find them very well, no problem at all. Now over the years, I've gone through, like everybody else has, the next big thing. So we started off with Alclad. Alclad were the first what I call proper metallizer finish paint. So when you sprayed it on, it actually looked like metal instead of just being silver paint. So actually fell in love with them, used them for many years, no problem at all. Unfortunately, the drawback to it is every time you spray this stuff in your house, your partner's going to want to know what you're quite doing because you've stunk the entire house out. Now I've got, as we know, a very large and expensive extractor behind us which vents most things. You're still going to get the smell, okay? The other problem with Alclad, it's extremely fragile, as in if you handle it too much you'll wear through it, and then obviously for things like masking is a no-no, because as soon as you put masking tape on, you peel away, you can see masking. You can't overcoat it particularly well, because if you overcoat it you just lose that luster. Decaling particularly a problem as well. So whilst they're very good at what they do, they're very fragile and very smelly, and I stopped using them a couple of years ago, to be honest. I've still got them, I've got a box down here, but from my point of view they were a little bit of a no-no. Then I moved on to the Model Master range, which they do a buffing and a normal one. Again, great metal effects, no problem with it. Small problem though, again, the smell, not quite as smelly as Alclad, but it does smell quite a bit. And then it is the thing of the fragility of it. It's very thin, so it's more like painting. It's what I akin. Everyone says about you're actually painting on. You're not, you're almost plating with this stuff. So whatever surface it goes onto will just show through, because it is very thin. But that's the problem you're going to get with all sort of metallizer paints. They're going to be thin to give you that genuine metal look, okay? So again, back to the drawing board a little bit. Then the actual Mr. Metal colour came along, which to be honest is my favourite of them all, because you can airbrush them, but also you can hand paint them as well, which is an absolute brilliant idea when you've got a small little area to do and they're fully buffable. Drawback to it is though, is that whilst they're as hard as nails and they never come off, they keep giving, okay? And again, they don't like being masked over, and then they certainly don't like being overcoated. Now what took my eye when we watched the video, the promotional video for all the AK Xtreme Metal series, is apparently you can overcoat, mask on top of it, treat it, and it's supposed to be as hard as nails and have no problem with it. So all of a sudden it was like, well, hold on. One, what is it? Okay. And two, is it going to be sort of as smelly as the others? Is this going to be the next big thing? And to be honest, the hobby sort of lit up quite nicely, because people say, oh, this is great, you can do it. Have you seen the videos? It's fantastic and all the rest of it. But I'm never one to be taken on videos. Quite frankly, I've seen too many videos of people showing you how great their stuff is, when either it's a direct rip-off from another product, okay, or it's in a situation where it works for them, but you get it at home, doesn't quite work for you. So what I'm going to do is recreate their settings. Okay, now I don't have a wing, but I do have another Typhoon on the go. Okay, so I've got the fuselage of a Typhoon here. I've got a couple of them down here. I'm not going to put, I don't put metallizers through my primary airbrush. I tend to got a Niawata Eclipse here. It's got the 0.35 needle in it. It should be clean, hopefully. Okay, we need to turn down the air pressure, obviously, but apart from that, it should go the right way. Turning the air pressure down to a workable level for metallizers, which I maintain is around about 10 psi. Okay, and with me it's pure guesswork. If I can feel it coming out the end and it doesn't spit, if it spits, turn up your air pressure just a little bit more, you're good to go. As long as it's not blowing it everywhere, you'll be absolutely fine. Now, what they're saying about these range of paints is that they are basically a lacquer-based paint, which is pretty normal for all the paints that we've got here before us. It just seems to be that metallizer paints, that's the best way they work with. Obviously the pigment is extremely fine, and lacquer-based paint, it goes on, it dries, it's very good like that, so that's what they are. The only thing I would recommend, you might notice some of these on the bottom, you can see here, you shake them and not a lot happens. Mine obviously are brand new. I think they've been floating around a warehouse for a while, but they do need a hell of a wake-up call to get them to go. There's no ball bearing. Obviously Alclad You get the little steel ball bearing in there. These guys haven't got that, so you need to literally give them a shake of their life to wake these up. To be honest, this one over here, copper, I've been shaking this for almost 2 days and it still hasn't come apart. It will get there slowly, but it literally, you might see on the bottom, very, very thick. Okay, so we've got the entire range. They do a black base, but they do maintain that you do not need to have a primer for this stuff. They say spray it straight onto neat plastic, so that's what we're going to go. But I do maintain if you're going to go for a high gloss finish, i.e. you're looking at chromes or the polished aluminium, you need a black base. It will reflect that light back and give you a stronger, deeper luster to your metallizer ones. So we've got this one here, black base, and then just whipping through them, we've got the chrome. Which one we've got here? We've got a copper. We've got a normal aluminium or aluminum. We've got a dark aluminium or aluminum. We've got a polished aluminium or aluminum. We've got a burnt metal, a jet exhaust, and we've got a brass. Okay, the brass looks a funny colour to me, but there we go. But that's the range as it stands at the moment. They may increase them, they may not. So anyway, let's get on and we're going to get some of this painted down. Now, I'm going to go straight onto the mat because we'll give it a whirl. I think we're going to need a pipette, but squirting this lot around, just going to have a clean pipette. Got stuff on the bottom, I think it's going to be alright. Let's get that off. Okay. So what we're going to do is just basically recreate what they do at the time. So we're just going to take the normal aluminium. Okay, so as you can see, it's very thick on the bottom. These bottles are what, 30ml, I should think? 30ml bottles. The glass as well. So we're just going to give it a good old shake. Now you don't have to worry about stirring or anything with these, it's lacquer, and I do maintain when it's a paint that's atomised, it doesn't really matter how you do it, okay? But what we're trying to get rid of is all this, and to be honest, I've been shaking it before we started filming, trying to get these to work. Okay, so what we're going to do is crack the top, child-safe lid, okay? Straight off the bat, they stink to high heaven. They are not as smelly as Alclad, but by no means, it's a lot more smelly than the others, shall we say. It's probably on a par with metallizer paints. And I'll give you a smell check as we make our way through this, okay? So what we're going to do is, just going to grab a bit in the colour cup. I'm not going to go wild with this because we just want to see what's going to happen. So I'm just going to check the flow. Coming out very nicely. Now you can see down there it's absolutely buzzing away like a good one. So I assume it's doing something. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to spray the tail, but also the idea of having the mat here, you can see an overspray point of view, like how far does this stuff go? Okay, so anyway, here we go. So just all air, gently pulling back, and as part of the video, he just gently works up a layer, which to be honest is what you want to do with all your metallizers anyway. Don't flood it in there, just go in there gently and just build up a very light layer. Now I'm sure I'm getting more overspray than he did. Okay, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to do quite a bit of the model here. But first impressions, this is going on very nicely. It's covering extremely well. I have to say that actually is covered very, very well. I seem to have more overspray than he's got. Alright, so now we're just going to come down in here and we're going to work it from different angles. So I want to know, it's all very well spraying a flat surface and a wing and things like that, but I want to know what this will do. So what I'm going to do is start to increase the paint flow just to see if I can change the look of the paint, because now I haven't quite got enough air to do this. What I'm hoping is it will give a thicker paint and it will give it a more metal look. Okay, so at the moment this is just about as much as I can get this to go before it starts to spit, if you know what I mean. We're at the limit of what this paint can do. Okay, and actually you might notice, you see the top tail quite flat. This is where we've turned the air pressure down. What happens is the paint goes on and sort of sticks into itself, and because it's quite thick, the particles are slightly bigger, you get a more metal look. So you might see this guy here is a lot more shiny than the tail. Even if you move it in the light, you can see, and that's because you're at the pure limit of it. If you turn the air pressure any more down, it will spit, and that's really where you want to be when you're spraying metallizers. You want to be to that point where you can always hear the airbrush struggle. Okay, and as soon as you can hear it struggling, then you know you're roughly in the ballpark with it. You might want to just up it a little bit. So I've just upped mine just a fraction because you obviously don't want it to spit, because as soon as it spits, you're going to lose that nice metal finish to it. So what I'm going to do, I'm probably going to stop there actually, I think. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go a little bit further. And what we're going to do is just up the air pressure a little bit now and just see what happens. We've only gone up a little bit, but what we're trying to do is just overcoat this. I'm just going to take it up to this one, then we're going to come in the other way, and you're just gently building it up. Okay. Alright. And actually, I have to say, if I'm really honest, straight off the bat, I'm extremely impressed. The smell, now either my nasal hairs are being burnt and I can smell that, but actually isn't as bad. It's nowhere near it. You know, Alclad you can smell a million miles away. Here at the moment, it also has, it's almost like an almond smell. I'm looking in the room around here now with the studio lights, always a good clue. I've got no sign of like overspray. And also on my cutting mat, I'm looking at obviously other items. Nothing's getting covered in overspray. So this stuff isn't just going airborne and everywhere like you get perhaps technically with an acrylic. But generally, I hope you can see that. And if I just show you camera there, that's actually a really, really nice finish. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is the next half, I'm going to flood it. I'm going to literally go over the top. So we're going to turn the air pressure up just a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to go in quite heavy and just to see if I can, well, ruin it really. All right, for want of a better word. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to come in here, check our flow. Okay, so this is high air pressure. Just to see what happens. You know, is it going to be a total farce? Is it going to be gritty looking? Is it going to give us a weathered look to the metal? I'm not too sure. Or is it going to be just the same? And as in, you know, it's a nice paint and you don't have to worry about how you put it on. I'm going to go right down here. Down here, I'm really going to plaster this on now. We are literally chucking it down like we don't care. Just trying to keep it universal. To be honest, that's almost full pelt on the trigger. Now, hopefully, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this. Hopefully one of the cameras will see it off of here, but you can see the difference between the two, all right? So hopefully down here, this is slightly a flatter look. I'm hoping one of the cameras, I know the side camera hates metalizers, but down here it's extremely nice, lustful, deep, you know, to be honest, very nice color. This guy down the front is a little bit different. It's a little bit more textured, but I'd expect that because I just threw it on it. The other thing as well, obviously we've chucked this on here, although it's touch dry, because it's a thicker coat down there, I would expect it to be wet, and it is on my fingernail, okay? Down the back here, we're not. So what we're gonna do now, par the instructions on the video, I'm gonna polish it. Now this is my standard polishing cloth for everything I do polishing wise. It's clean, so we'll be able to see, okay? So we're just gonna lightly, buff, just to see one, what comes off on the cloth, but also how tough this stuff is. Now I can feel the difference because the cloth is gliding over the metal surface. And to be honest, we've got hardly any coming away, all right? So what we're gonna do now is really give it some beans, just to see what happens. All right, we're gonna just do here. Now I'm gonna do the front because I know the front's really wet and it'll, because it's a thick coat, it's not gonna like it. But I have to say now, we're putting this down. Just go down the front here. Yeah. First impressions, very clever, very nice. The colour itself, now this is drying at the front as well, isn't that far off. So, you know, if you are new to metallizer paints, I do have to say, pretty good. You know, you don't have to worry about it too much. Now this I can feel is a little bit damp, but we're just, to say this is a full-on job. So we're just going to buff it. I can feel it's damp because the cloth's dragging. Got a little bit more coming off as well. But I sprayed this front end from an inch of its life down here. Literally thick trail, so you could actually see it rippling and bubbling as it went down. And now it's completely in flat. And actually that is on a par with anything you could do with Alclad, by being extremely careful. And by that I mean is if I'm using Alclads to get this type of finish, I would do like this end. If you did Alclads like down here, it would go cloudy. You get that cloudy effect to it and it looks dull. So I've got no problem with that whatsoever. That is, in theory, very, very nice. Okay, so tape. Next big thing, can you tape over it? Now, if I'm doing this normally, I'll be putting this on the back of my hand and getting as much tack off as possible. I'm not going to do that. We're going to try two areas. We're going to go across the tail. Okay, so we're just going to place that in, and as I would, not pushing down heavily, just a light rub, okay, across the tail. Now, in the video, when you look at he's using it, he says there's no mark. Hello, I can see it. When he peels it off, you can see a mark down the side, okay? It's not peeling off paint with it, but it's definitely peeling it off. And there we go, kids. That's what I mean. So, from my point of view, you think we've gone back down to plastic there and it's peeled it off. So that's what I'm saying about, you know, it's all very well saying about you can just mask over this and away you go, right? So what I'm going to do now, we're going to try another version. So a little disappointing there, and like, let's face it, the video says you can. Doing the back of the hand trick. Now the idea with the back of the hand, it picks up oils from the back of your hand, okay, and it loses its bite, it loses its grip. So this is the idea to this. So then when you come along and repeat, okay, if we just do another one down here. All right, it sits on there and then we peel away. Yeah, okay, so if you was to take the back of it off, you can see we don't have anything down there. But again, we have got some, you might be able to see the shine on there. So it is pulling off. This stuff is not as good as they're saying on the advert, all right? So, sorry, doesn't do it. Don't get me wrong, I do like the colour, I just don't like the look. Okay, this is out of rub, so what we're going to do now is going to go put a little bit of tape down here. Very light push down, you know, not pulling it down and all the rest of it. All right, and then what we're going to do is, can't get hold of it now, we're just going to try and peel this guy off. No, I'm sorry, not sticking to mine, you know. Now, a lot of this could be, it needs a primer coat. If you just put the primer down onto it, it could work like a charm, but I'm sorry, that is not doing it as per the advert. Don't get me wrong, love the effect, don't like the outcome, all right? So that's my point to this. So let's try that again. Okay. Okay, let's try that down the front. So you just put on your tape, spray, pull away. See, again, it's taking it with it. Now, you know, this could be a primer issue, as I was saying. You might want to chuck a coat of primer down on this, and a coat of primer might work a treat, but certainly as not par the advert. So big there, that ain't gonna work, isn't gonna cut it. And if I'm honest, the model metallizers, I've never had peel off like that in my life. Alclad doesn't even peel off back down to bare bones. So really this stuff is a lot more fragile, shall we say, than even those. When I'm saying fragile also, I mean it hasn't got as much bite. I'm sure these guys get into the plastic heavier and attach to it a lot better than perhaps this does. Now, what does this actually mean? It could be a primer issue. And that could be that's what's going on here. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to try some of their black base, all right? And in a minute we'll get in there with other colours. So just down here, I'm just going to pop in with some of this. Okay, so we've got some of their black base, as they call it, and do with a different colour here. Just blow that out. You could probably touch that in. Touching test. Run out. Okay, so touch of black base. Now this is mixed in obviously with the silver. All right, so let's just see what we get here. This is their black base. So turning down the air pressure, turning down air pressure. That's the one. Okay, so what we're going to do, just going to do the tail. So again, this stuff's quite nice. Again, it smells of almonds. If I'm honest, it's more smelly than the last one, as in the normal ones. This is obviously something slightly different. Okay, so we're just gonna pop along. I'm gonna do twofold here. I'm gonna do the tail just like this. Okay, so it's almost like a primer. Now this stuff goes airborne, I can see this everywhere. And then down the back here, we're gonna put on a heavier coat and turn it black. Bearing in mind I didn't clean this, so it's going to be a bit silvery. So we might get the odd fleck. Okay, so what I'm going to do, just up the air a minute, dry this down. No cuts, no nothing on this. This is straightforward. That's the other thing. On there, actually, this stuff's really cloudy compared to the other. But in the video, when you watch the video, did you notice he takes the end ring off, puts it down, and then it's back? Well, there's an edit in there somewhere. And also, why did he take the end ring off? The only reason you take that end ring off if you're worrying about spitting, you know, because what can happen is you get build up around the inner ring and it can affect your spray pattern. That's the only reason you would actually take that part off. So again, I'm not disproving them or anything else or calling them liars and cheats. Doesn't work. But from my point of view, you know, it's nice to see some continuity. You know, I do this for a living and I don't like it when I see other people taking the mickey somewhat. Okay, so we're just going to give this a quick clean out. I have to say, their thinness absolutely stinks. This stuff is nasty. Cleans your brush is great, but apart from that, it is really, really nasty. You won't want to be sniffing this too much at the moment, okay? Obviously, you know, if you've got kids, pets, old people, just make sure they're out of the house when you're spraying this. Oh, right, okay. Okay, so this has been down. So, well, we've got an option here. Should we try it again the same way or should we try a different colour? I'll tell you what, we're going to stay the same because I want to keep the continuity here. Okay, and then what we're going to do is have a go with some of the other colours. Okay, so back with aluminium again, bit of a shake. Okay, in here, I have to use this one now. Note to self, buy some pipettes. Okay, right, okay, so turn that down, even, down. Okay, so what we're going to do is put this over the top and just see what we can get, okay? Alright. Now the thing is, if you're using a base on black, when you first put it on it's really, really dark, and then as you build up it comes back stronger. Okay, a couple of coats in you'll notice it covers really, really nicely. Okay, now I'm going to give this a good cover and we're going to let it dry whilst we do other things, alright? Now I'm doing this one a lot heavier and a lot quicker, purely for speed, alright? Okay, and there we go. And if I'm honest, that's got a better luster to it with the black primer underneath, alright? But what we're going to do, we're going to let that dry for a couple of minutes, and then we can come back and see exactly what we've got. So what we're going to do is have a play with some of the other colours. Okay, so we've got aluminium down there, so what we're going to have a go at is with, which ones have we got? Polished aluminium and dark aluminium. Let's have a go with dark aluminium. Okay, again, you can see really thick on the bottom. I would shake, let's wake this one up, get all of that pigment working. Otherwise what happens is you end up with more thinners, if you like, than pigment. So make sure the entire bottom is always clear, then keep going because you could have lumps floating around in there, and trust me, you don't want the lumps. So okay, give that a good old shake. To be honest, I gave it a good old shake before we started. Okay, so you can hear clicking, means it's a new one. Okay, let's get rid of that. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go over where we were. So I'm going to do over that midsection. Okay, just to see. Good covering capabilities. Okay, I'm just going to blend the two across. Okay, as you can see, you can cover quite well with it. All right. Let's just try and put in a line so we can try and see the difference. Okay, you can probably see not much, but you can see a little bit duller. What we do this section in the middle here as well. And then just running over. And as you can see, we can take out problems pretty straightforward and easy. So what I'm going to do, I'll do this centre section. So yeah, that's nice colour. You can see clearly the difference there between the two. What I'll do, I'll put a section down here, then so forth and so on. Okay, so that's actually quite nice. And then what we'll do is we're just going to do the front half on this. Yeah, take it up to that here. A lot lighter coat this one than we just did on there, because obviously this is onto neat plastic. Okay. And because it's going onto neat plastic, it should look darker because it hasn't got the reflection from the old colour. Okay, so when you cross compare, you'll probably see you've got a darker type of colour. Very nice. I'm very impressed with the coverage. The coverage is absolutely fantastic. Got no problem with the coverage at all. Okay, let's just try. Let's have a go on a. Where's the polished one? There's the polished one. That's aluminium, black base. Dark. This is the polished. Right. Okay. So what we're going to do is have a go with the polished and the chrome, and I think we can make a call from there. Well, if we can mask it yet. Okay. So down in here. Let's just dump that. Okay, and yeah, I'm not cleaning out between colours because, let's face it, it's all just going to fall through. Be a slight bit of mix, but I'm not that worried about it. Okay. Right, okay, so this is the polished aluminium, or aluminum. So what we're going to do, we're going to go for the midsection in here with this one. Okay. Okay, right. So nice and gently, I'm just going to work this one over. This one you can see a little bit more cloudy. Now it could be because we've got an unclean airbrush and it's affecting the two. Also drying it back you can see. Okay. To be honest, this one smells a bit more. Okay, so what we'll do is, when we've done that, then we're going to try and polish it. Okay. Don't think we're going to be able to. Maybe because it's overcoating, but that is not dry by a long sense. Okay, just... You might see this is actually polishing through. When it's overcoating itself, you can actually see the original colour coming through, so it's actually overcoating. Now I'm not going to call that because it could be me not cleaning out the airbrush. So what we'll do, we'll just dump that, blow that, we'll do a quick colour clean out, and just to see, go on, nice brush, where's my nice brush, brush, blue. Blue, there it is. Okay, so we're just going to stick a little bit in that, a little bit clean up just to go around. Okay, a little bit just in the end. Okay, tip. Okay, tiny bit more just in there. Around the needle, blow that through. Okay, so let's just try that again. Oh no, we're flicking paint everywhere. Okay, alrighty. Clean there. Right, okay, good as new. No one would know. Let's try that again. Okay, sorry if it's a bit long-winded and boring, but I'm trying to give this as fair a crack at the whip as I can. So this is down onto neat plastic. I have to say, it's looking better. Okay, that's a far better colour, so what I'm going to do, we're just going to retry this, see what we can get happening again. Again, this is an overcoat problem because the paint's somewhat contaminated. So I think if we was to come down here, an overcoat. Obviously some of the paints like each other, some of them don't. Trying really heavy flood on that one. So yeah, as you can see, didn't like being overcoated down there at all, those two colours. Okay, so just watch your colour mixing, make sure you're in with a clean airbrush. As I say, I do this, so you don't have to, alright? Okay, so that's pretty good. What we're going to do then, last up, is we're going to try the chrome, and then after the chrome we're going to come back and we're going to have a go at the masking over the primed surface, and then hopefully that will give us our full results. Okay, so poof that out. Alright, so this, I'm just trying to put the lid on correctly here. See, found another fault. The lids don't like going back on afterwards. Okay, chrome. Chrome, one of our favourites. We like to use the chrome just to see what we've got. Okay, a little bit left. Hopefully we've got a little patch left over for us. Okay, so yeah, I know you shouldn't tip because this stuff will leak everywhere. Exhibit A. Okay, but just trying to do this as quick as possible now. Okay, so we're just going to check our flow, turn the air pressure down just a little bit. Okay, and we're just going to try and lightly build up in this midsection just to see how good chrome is, okay? Okay, well, mine doesn't look as shiny as theirs, that's what I'm going to say. Okay, right, if we just get some lids on. So, right, that's what we did wrong there, that's why that doesn't fit. That one goes on that one, which goes on that one. Okay, so looking at that one, there's your chrome in the middle. Okay, let's just try it on a bit of a rub just to see what happens. See if we can buff it up just a little bit more. Yeah, once you get going, you can feel it actually grip, and then it sort of releases, so you know you're good on there. Okay, we're just starting to come through on the overlap. It doesn't like overlapping itself, but generally that chrome's quite nice. I can't see much between the difference between these two, but certainly you can see that more prismatic effect. Alright, so what we're going to do now, just going to give us a little rub. I'm going to try and tape this, so we're going to try and tape it manually, as per the instructions. Okay, la-di-da-di-da, spray next colour, pull off. No chance. No chance whatsoever. Which is really disappointing, I must admit. I'm sort of split between these paints now because, yes, they're very good, but they're not tape proof. I don't know who they are trying to kid by saying that they are actually tape proof, because quite frankly that is not the case at all. These are not going to stand up. And this is Tamiya tape, which I do find is probably the best at not peeling, and I was just worried about residue, but this takes it completely off to the bottom, and that's over primed surface and everything else like that. So again, just off at the back, and this is just coming off actually in leaves as well, you know. So their thing about this is an easy paint to use. Okay, I tell you what, let's work through their claims. Easy to use, yes, absolutely. Anybody can spray this stuff. Very forgiving, as we proved at the first point. If you wanted to go down and chuck this stuff down very heavily, you've got no problem with that at all. It's very, very forgiving like that. Alclad, you tried that, you're going to end up with a horrible finish. Even the Monomaster stuff, if you put it down too thick, it'll come back and bite you. It goes very thick and cloudy and all the rest of it. Probably the only one you're going to get away with that is Mr. Metalizer. It's quite forgiving that way. Okay, handleable, yeah, I must admit you can handle it. I don't think you're going to wear through it at all. It seems to be great. I gave it a rub of its life, so from a handleable point of view, once you've been painting and things like that, you've got no problem. No residue coming off with it either, so it's not like the actual Mr. Metal colours which keep coming off on your hand weeks afterwards. Alright, but their big claim is that apparently you can tape over this, you can mask over it, it's as hard as nails. I'm sorry, it's a lie. It doesn't work. It's busted, I suppose, from want of a better word, because these don't lie. Okay, and we've done this in real time. This is no cuts, edits, takes, or all the rest of it. This is exactly how we've done this. Spent the last half an hour or so just going through this as they did. I'm not going to bother getting the spoons out, because all that is going to show you how to use it for colour. Weathering, I'm not being funny, anybody can weather over anything. I'm sure it's going to be absolutely fine as long as you're using a mild weathering way, i.e. our clay wash would have been no problem on this whatsoever, and certainly if you're using something like, as I say, white spirit, it'll be fine. It's only if you're going to come in with lacquers and that, it's going to strip back your metal and you're going to be in trouble. Okay, but from that point of view, I'm sure it's absolutely great. It's just, it's extremely disappointing you can't mask with this stuff, and because you can't mask with it, I'm a little bit hesitant about decaling with it, because by the time you put setting solutions on and things like that, they tend to peel and lift and do all those things as well. So unfortunately, as far as the colours go and usability and smell, great, big thumbs up. They're very, very nice. I've got no problem with that at all. But as for masking and doing things like that, I'm sorry, it just doesn't work. So really, you know, it's a split decision. Would I switch over and use this stuff? Yeah, I probably would. It goes down well, it covers well, it gives greater finish. I have no problem with using them at all. It was definitely going to replace my Alclad, and it'll probably replace my Model Master range up there. It's probably not going to do my buffables, because I like the buffable range, because I love to be able to actually polish them up into a real heavy luster and things like that. So I think from my point of view, I'm going to be using AK for all my spraying type stuff, and then I'll be using the Mr. Metal colours for all my hand painting and the buffable jobs from now on. It's just a real shame that you can't actually tape over it as part of the video. So there we go. This has been an on test for Flory Models, and thanks for watching. Okay, so to be honest, it's now the next day. It's just coming up for 10 o'clock in the morning. I was doing this around about 2:30, 3 yesterday. So what I'm going to try and do is mask this again and try and give it a more fair go, if you like. Perhaps I was a little bit quick, all right? So a little bit of a next day type thing. You know, the colours, the hardness, everything else, absolutely fantastic, no problem, great paint. So we're just going to try it again, and I am going to try and knock off some of this and do it as I would any other type of metal masking. Okay, so we're going to try various areas over this one. So what we're going to do, just going to lay this down here, all right, and then we're just going to peel it, and unfortunately still just ripped it clean off, and I was being very, very gentle there. So if we just try another bit just down here, okay, see, some of it seems to stick quite well. This is quite a heavier coat down this area, and the great thing with it is as well, I don't know how well you can see it, but there is no tape residue like we would traditionally get. Now I'm putting this down a bit firmer now, okay, and unfortunately, yeah, it peeled off. Okay, so this is the unprimed section for this one. Let's try it on somewhere that's been primed, obviously down the back here. So again, I'm going to knock off pretty much all the tack off of this, and we're going to try and do this again. But you know, the manufacturer did claim that you could mask over it. Unfortunately, I'm not getting the results they are. So we're just putting that down lightly. You would imagine you'd come along, you would spray down your coat, filled in that area, you've done a panel, things like that. Okay, and then we're just going to gently peel away, and you're okay as long as it is literally touching, okay, the surface. Okay, so we just got this down, a little bit of a rub, okay, and then we're peeling back. So we're having good results here. I'm going to just up the ante now, and we're just going to press it a little bit harder and things like that. So actually we're doing quite well there. Now this tail where we've made a bit of a mess testing it all, we're going to try it down here. Now one of my main things was, when they were looking at the wing, it looked to me as if it was a different colour plastic to the rest of it. Now I don't know the kit, and I could just be clutching at straws, but to me it looked like it had been primed or it had certainly been keyed, as in rubbed down a little bit before it was used. But this, I think we found the problem. Okay, now I'm giving this beans and we're getting very light removal from it. Now don't forget, this area was primed. Now I'm really rubbing this down and I'm trying to tear as well. I'm thinking the key to this stuff not being a problem is, now we are pulling off little bits here, but I'm being extremely aggressive with this. So this is now neat tape going to go down, and let's just assume we were, you know, perhaps masking a panel or something. Okay, so this is neat tape. Now we already had a little fleck there, so don't take too much notice of that one. Let's just try another area. Okay, pushing down quite heavily, gently peeling. See, we've pulled a little bit out of a panel line, but that wouldn't be a problem. Okay, now let's be ultra aggressive with it. So yeah, you can rip it back if you're being ultra aggressive. I'm thinking, the thing is, priming, it's going to be the key to this one. The trouble with priming is, if you're going to neat onto plastic, the plastic is normally a polished surface. The great thing with that is then when you're going to come along and you actually go over the top of it, because it's a polished surface, you get a brilliant, lustful, glossy look, which in turn on metallizers gives you a type of mirror finish and a very nice metal finish. Okay. The trouble is though, it's got nothing to get hold of. If you had a keyed surface, i.e. if you'd run a sanding sponge over this first, sprayed onto it, you're going to get texture in there, you're going to lose that metal luster. So if you're using things like chrome, no. Polished aluminium, no, because you're going to lose it, it's going to look very dull. So this is your sort of dilemma between the two. Priming is going to affect, because this down here, to be honest, this area is not as good as you might notice as the other one. This one here is a very nice, very smooth finish. This one here has got a slight texture to it. That's because obviously spraying it down, you would have to go in and, you know, generally polish your actual finish before you come in with the metallizer, and then you're going to end up with it being such a smooth surface, nothing's going to stick to it, and you're just going to peel away the actual metallizer finish. To be honest, I think we're still back to the drawing board. There is no miracle cure for this, because you have two camps really. If you're going to go down and you're going to prime it, you're not going to have the best metal finish, but your paint is going to stick to your model and you're going to have no problem with it. Now I know what you could say, well, you could come along and then you could polish the actual primer to give you a better finish, or come in with like the black base, things like that, because then that's a nice gloss black base for it to go onto. The trouble is, it's glossy, things don't stick to glossy particularly well. We all know that, okay? So that's why, you know, you're sort of kidding yourself with that thing, because it's almost like going down onto neat plastic, all right? Time, obviously, we were only given this 18 hours, but also if you did have to wait, let's assume that worked perfectly well. You got to wait 18 hours between coats. So if you wanted then to have your main color, you got to wait 18 hours to put in that small little panel just to change your panel color, things like that. If you're doing something big, 3 or 4 colors, you're talking 3 or 4 days just to do what technically should be a straightforward 1 hour job or something else like that. So to me, it's still not brilliant stuff. That said, I do like it. It covers extremely well. I love the colours, I like the metal effect. It looks like metal to me. Personally, I don't think now, even in the morning here, it's as good as a buffable, okay? Because if buffable, you can buff it to the luster you actually want. And look at other videos I've done when I can take dark iron and make it look like a mirror just by polishing it, okay? So this isn't a new miracle thing that does everything. What it does do very well though, and if you are a newbie to metallizer finishes, things like that, and you want to have that sort of new metal finish, go for this stuff. It is very forgiving. We sprayed this, maximum pull on the trigger, high air pressure, and flooded the nose down on this guy here, and it looks absolutely great. It doesn't look any different from anywhere else on the model. In fact, this area down here has a stronger, thicker, lustful metalness than up here. Up here looks quite sort of delicate. Down here actually looks like metal. It looks like a piece of aluminium bar, and that's exactly what we're after. So if you are new to using metallizer paints, it's a damn sight easier than using these guys or buffables even, because this stuff you just spray it down, let it dry, and you're good to go. Unfortunately though, you have your masking problem. Now there is ways around it. I spoke about it a lot in the past. My personal favorite, if you're doing something, 100 gram paper, wet it first, then put it on, okay? Let it sit there just for a few moments so the water, you know, sort of comes away from the edges. It will dry like it. You can spray over it. You can then just literally peel it off. It's just damp paper, makes a fantastic mask, and because it's damp paper, it will conform on curves and things like that absolutely fine, okay? It's a bit like using blotting paper technique of old, all right? So that will do it. But certainly coming in with tapes, you're always going to have this problem of it lifting, and obviously if it lifts, it's a problem. Again, this paint comes into its own because of its coverage power. You could blow this in like we've shown in the previous little clip of the video, and you will lose it. You will not see it. You just blow in that area and it will cover it completely, where other ones, Alclad, you see little steps in it and things like that. It doesn't cover as well as this stuff. So from a forgiveness point of view and workable, and for a solid metal colour, this is a solid one to go for. Go out and get yourself these paints. Just don't mask over it. Don't try what they did in the video, because quite frankly, I don't know how they did it, but in testing, I've tried it. I've given it every which way now, and it's still not giving me the same results you see on the video. So don't believe everything you see.